Apa itu?
Mana aku tahu. Nama mukanya segede gaban.
Hmm? Cek. Halo. Siapa itu yang menggema? Janganlah menggema.
Eh,
Halo,
gimana
cek.
kalau di mute aja nggak sih? Ini jadi
Aku nggak kedengeran.
latihannya jadi di YouTube loh.
Iya nggak?
Gak apa-apa. Saya udah hapus stream.
Ya udah, ya udah. Ya udah. Cepat, aku nggak dengar suara orang lain yang menjawab. Coba cek. Halo.
Pokoknya nggak masuk Zoom, Mom. Aku harus nge-host ini pakai double Zoom nggak
Sendiri
bisa.
cek. Halo. Allow me to start today's event. Mohon izin untuk memulai acara hari ini. Before we begin, please ensure that your microphones are muted. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, konnichiwa. Selamat sore. Selamat sore. Buru-buru
Gimana?
amat.
Eh, latihannya gimana? Gak usah di mute aja gimana? Sama mukanya.
Oh, iya dah.
Emang ini loh tradisi.
Hmm.
Streaming mau.
Cek. Halo. Kedengeran nggak? Bluetooth. Ini host co-hostnya siapa? Aku jadiin co-host juga. Oke, kedengeran. Ini itu YouTube.
sulit.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
All right. We're gonna start at 1 or
Okay.
1-ish. Still waiting for some people. Okay. So you have got everything, Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Thank you. I'll check a few things first.
Okay, sure.
Ya bang, jangan ada match review. Anjing gak solo lagi. Udah match review anjing.
Hadirnya. Siapa kau? Aku lihat yang di sini. Belum. Ini mah
buat saya.
Harum.
Belum dekat gitu kan sama dia.
Join, jangan lupa join semua yang kalau di sini mau join dia. Hanya
Check. Hello, Mr. Fauzi. Mr. Fauzi, are you in the
Yeah.
room already?
Yes, I'm here, Miss
Can you
Raffi.
hear my voice?
Yeah.
I cannot see your camera on.
Yeah, I'm seeing setting it up.
Or
Yeah.
okay, sure. Just let me know when you are ready, Mr. Fauzi.
Yes, I'm ready actually.
Oh, okay. With the camera off.
No. Just wait a moment.
Okay, sure.
Abdul Qadir.
Fauji. Takut tiba-tiba kebuka ya kameranya.
Ini juga dosen, ini dosen.
Check. Okay. Please allow me to start today's event. Mohon izin untuk memulai acara hari ini. So before we begin, please ensure that your microphones are muted. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Konnichiwa. Selamat siang. The Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Professor Sutirna, along with the Vice Deans, our esteemed program coordinators of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, distinguished lecturers and guests, and also all of the English language education students whom we take pride in. Welcome to our international guest lecture on innovative approaches in English language teaching, insight from Japan, and presented by Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto, Ph.D., who has joined our virtual room. The first agenda is the singing of the national anthem, Indonesia Raya, followed by the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education song.
Jadi Bandung ibu perjuangan kau hadir membawa cahaya bersama membangun harapan mencetak generasi berakhlak depan langkah hai pemuda di bawah panjitri dharma bersama FK Punsika Jaya mengabdi demi ibu pertiwi bulatkan tekadmu ayo bersatu demi pendidikan bangsa tunaikan baktimu ayolah maju bersama FK Punsika. Wujudkan cita mulia yang bermoral Pancasila bersama ciptakan karya nyata berjuang demi FK Punsika. FK Punsika citra pendidikan berkualitas dan berkeunggulan. FK Punsika fakultas kebanggaan jayalah kau selamanya. Jayalah FK Punsika. Jayalah FK Punsika.
All right. Next, please join me in welcoming the coordinator of the English Language Education Study Program, Miss Evi Carlina Ambarwati, MED, who will share a few words about the importance of today's lecture. To Miss Evi, the room is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Evi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, respected Dean of Faculty of Education and Teacher Training, Universitas Singapura Bangsa Karawang, Vice Dean, fellow faculty members, distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Hiroki Yamamoto, and also my dear students. I welcome you all to this international guest lecture featuring Hiroki Yamamoto, Ph.D. from Shinshu University, Japan. And today we have a unique opportunity to dive into an important topic that will hopefully broaden our understanding of English language education. As future educators in English language education, it is very essential for all of you to continuously seek knowledge and adapt to new trends and methods in teaching. The landscape of education is always evolving, and with globalization, it has become crucial for us to learn from international experiences and also research. Japan, with its unique culture and education settings, offer innovative approaches that we can learn from. And today we are fortunate to have Dr. Yamamoto to share his experience and expertise on this. I encourage all of you to make the most of these sessions. This lecture will not only inspire you, but also equip you with tools that you need to innovate in your future classrooms. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Yamamoto for sharing his valuable time and knowledge with us today. We are truly honored to have you with us, and we look forward to learning from you and in another occasion also. And I would like to also extend my gratitude to the committee members who have spent their efforts and time to make this international guest lecture happens. To everyone present, I hope this session will spark new ideas, challenges your thinking, and helps you gain broader understanding of English language teaching in a global context. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a productive and inspiring session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Miss Evi. Next, to kick off today's event, it is my pleasure to invite our esteemed Vice Dean, Mr. Fauzi Miftah, MED, to deliver the opening remarks. To Mr. Fauzi, the room is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Revi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. The honorable guest speaker, distinguished lecturers, all faculty members, colleagues, and dear students. On behalf of the Dean, I would like to give an opening speech in this wonderful event. It is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you all in this International General Lecture on Innovative Approaches to English Language Teaching, organized by the English Education Department of Faculty of Teacher Training, University of Singapore Bangsa, Karawang. Today, we are privileged to have a distinguished academic and expert in the field of education from Shinshu University, Japan. To our esteemed guest, Hiroki Yamamoto, Ph.D. Sensei.
Tutup aja gue kelihatan ya.
We are truly grateful for your presence here today. We are excited to learn from you, your expertise and your insights. Konnichiwa. Yokoso irashaimashita. I'm learning Japanese just a while ago. Yeah, this event is a valuable opportunity for us to broaden our horizons, exchange ideas, and strengthen our academic collaboration, especially between University of Singapore Bangsa Karawang and Shinshu University. As we know that education is a bridge that connects cultures, and today's lecture is a testament to that. I would like also to extend my gratitude to the committee, lecturers, students who have worked hard to make this event possible. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Yeah. Without further ado, let us now begin this enlightening session. I hope everyone will actively participate and make the most of the opportunity. Thank you again. Welcome to all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Fauzi. My name is Revi Sativa. I will be hosting today's event. Watashi wa Revi desu, dozo yoroshiku. I also learned a bit of Japanese. So next, let me introduce our distinguished guest lecturer, Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto, Ph.D. So Dr. Yamamoto has Ph.D. in Global Japanese Studies from Meiji University, and he has over 10 years of experience in English language teaching in several Japanese universities. And then he is also the author of more than 20 research papers, and he has received awards in Best Class and also Outstanding Journal articles. Also, he is the esteemed committee member of the Fulbright FLTA selection and many more achievements that I cannot mention. So just a reminder to everyone again, please keep your microphones on mute and continue to use the chat box for any questions you may have during the presentation. Please also fill in the attendance form shared in the chat box for your certificates. And then everyone, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Hiroki Yamamoto. Dr. Yamamoto, the room is yours.
So, selamat siang. I'm not sure if my pronunciation is correct, but konnichiwa. Hello. My name is Hiroki Yamamoto from Shinshu University. And firstly, let me check if you hear my voice clearly and see the slides well. Is everything all right?
Yes, very
Okay,
clear.
thank you. Okay, so let me begin my talk. But before that, firstly, I would like to thank Professor Evi, Professor Fauzi, and Professor Refi for your opening talks and introduction to me. And also, I would like to be thankful for everyone who made this guest lecture possible. And also, thank you very much. I would like to thank all the students who are attending this lecture. And before I talk about English education, let me briefly introduce myself. And again, my name is Hiroki Yamamoto, and in Japan, like we say our family name first. So I say, I call myself Yamamoto Hiroki. So this is kanji or Chinese characters for my names. And I have been studying English education, and especially I have been interested in learning strategies, motivation, vocabulary learning, and teaching and evaluation of speaking and intercultural education in English classes. And my current interest is intercultural education in English classes. So today I would like to share what I'm studying about intercultural education with you. And as introduced, like I belong to the Department of Education, Shinshu University, which is located in Nagano Prefecture, Japan. And I teach classes on English education, English communication, intercultural understanding, and also I supervise graduation research of undergraduate students. And I'm a member of the Global Working Committee in the department. So when we host international students, like I support them. And since I belong to the Department of Education, most of my students hope to be teachers after graduation. So like I teach students who are interested in being teachers, especially English teachers. And next, let me talk about Nagano Prefecture, where Shinshu University is located. So maybe many of you have heard of Tokyo, and Tokyo is here, and Nagano Prefecture is here, like this green place. And this is Nagano Station, and like you can come to Nagano by Shinkansen or the bullet train. So it takes only 2 hours from Tokyo. So this place is not very far from Tokyo. So I hope you will visit Nagano one day. And Nagano is famous for apples and soba noodles, which is traditional Japanese noodle. And Nagano is mountain area. So like we can enjoy beautiful mountain landscapes. And in spring, like we can see cherry blossoms or sakura, like in Nagano, like other places. And Nagano also has unique history. And Nagano is a relatively cold place. So we have snow in winter. And actually now it's winter in Japan or Nagano. And this is a photo that I took last night. So if you see the outside of the window, you can, in my office, like you can see a lot of snow. So next, let me talk about why I was invited or why I am talking to you. And this is because like I'm a friend of like Professor Sativa. By the way, I usually call her with her nickname Puan. So I don't know if my pronunciation Sativa is correct or not. But anyway, yeah, I met her. And as probably Professor Sativa pointed out, like we joined the FLTA program, like Fulbright FLTA programs. So we went to the United States and taught our languages and cultures. So I was working as a Japanese language teacher for a year, and Professor Sativa worked as an Indonesian language teacher, like in an American university. And so like our universities were different, but before like we went to the universities, like we attended orientation. And then like I met Professor Sativa and we became friends. And yeah, surprisingly, like the photo of me and Professor Sativa were used for the FLTA's leaflet in Indonesia. So even though I have never been to Indonesia, unfortunately, my picture already arrived in Indonesia. And this is a photo of me and Professor Sativa and some other colleagues and friends. And this photo is one of the most important photos in my life. Yeah, so this is the reason why like I was invited to like this guest lecture, and I was talking to you, and I am very honored to share my ideas and insights with you today. By the way, like, is my English all right? Like, I have to admit that like my English has kind of strong accent with Japanese language. So if you are not used to listening to English accent with Japanese language, you might find it a little difficult to understand my English. But in that case, please let me know. Like I will try to I will try to speak more slowly and more clearly. Okay, so far is everything all right? Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Okay, so let me move on to the main part, like lecture. And the title of the lecture is Innovative Approaches to English Language Teaching, Insights from Japan. By the way, I was given like this topic or like this title I cannot call like my practice innovative approaches competently. I'm not sure if my practice is innovative enough. But since I was given this title, I have to talk about something about innovative approaches and also insights from Japan. So I was thinking what I should talk about. And then, it says insight from Japan. So maybe I should talk about English education in Japan. And also it says innovative. So maybe I thought it's a good idea to talk about my teaching approaches that I'm developing now in my current research project. And because, like if I just talk about English education in Japan, I'm not sure if I can call it innovative, because English education in Japan is based on like long-standing and reliable approaches with long history. So I decided to like talk a little bit about the approaches that I'm developing as a researcher now. So here is today's menu. Firstly, in part 1, I will briefly talk about English education in Japan. Like I will focus on two important points, about two key points about English education in Japan. And after that, I will talk about the like teaching approaches or teaching kind of methods that I'm developing like in my research project. And that activity is called Intercultural Understanding Discussion. And I would like to talk about this activity in the second half of this lecture. And if we still have time, like we could have a question and answer session. So like if you have any questions, like please ask the question to me in this part. But if you want to ask questions earlier, like you can always use the chat and share your questions or comments or like feedback freely. Okay, so let's begin with the first part, English education in Japan. So firstly, I would like to talk about what English education is like in Japan. And so today I would like to focus on like English education in elementary school and junior high schools. And usually in Japan, elementary, when students become third-year students, they start studying English. There are some exceptional elementary schools, and such schools may offer English classes even like to the first graders or second graders. But usually, the schools offer English classes to third graders or older students. And when students are third or fourth graders in elementary school, like they study English only once a week. And the English classes focus on only speaking and listening. So like students do not have to study about writing and reading. And no explicit grammar teaching is given. So communication is focused. And when they become fifth graders, like they study English twice a week. And in fifth and sixth graders English classes, like students study not only speaking and listening, but also basic writing and reading. So students start studying about, for example, like writing alphabets or reading very easy words or sentences. But still, like they do not receive explicit grammar teaching. The communication is the main activity of English classes, and sometimes music or songs too. And when they become junior high school students, like our students become junior high school, enter junior high school, like they study English 4 times a week. So in junior high school, English is one of the main subjects in schools. And the students study speaking, listening, writing, and reading in a balanced manner. And explicit grammar teaching is given. However, still communication, as I will explain later, language activities will be the most important parts of the classes. But in this part, in junior high school, students could receive some explicit grammar teaching. And one of the most important books or documents about English education in Japan is a course of study, our CS. And CS is a curriculum guideline released by the government or the Ministry of Education. And teachers are expected to teach classes and evaluate student performances following the CS. So understanding the course of study is essential for teachers in Japan. And today I would like to talk about 2 key points of CS. And the first one is to develop students' competencies that form the communication through language activities. So through language activities is a kind of keyword. And language activities are the term used in CS. So maybe this is not an academic or common word in English education. And if I replace this word, language activities, with more common words, maybe it should be tasks. So maybe language activities are like very similar to tasks. So what are language activities? Like in Japanese, this is called gengo katsudo. And this is authentic communication, like exchanging messages, like conveying ideas or exchanging opinions or sharing experiences. And reading and listening activities can be also like language activities as well as speaking or writing, because like when you read passages or when you listen to English, like you can receive messages, and this is a kind of exchanging messages. So what are activities that are not gengo katsudo or language activities? And they are called practice activities or teaching in CS, the course of education. And this is like practice to learn to use target grammars, vocabulary, or pronunciation in communication. For example, like reading passages aloud, our role play, our vocabulary, our grammar drills, our translation are categorized as practice activities or teaching. And also explanation of grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation are also teaching or practice activities. So the course of studies distinguish language activities from practice activities and teaching. And the course of study emphasizes that language activities should be main part of the class, and practice activities and teaching cannot be the central part of the English classes, and these should be conducted when necessary. And unfortunately, I do not know much about Indonesian English education. But if like Indonesian education focuses on communication, you might think like this is obvious or like this is kind of common sense. But in Japan, traditionally, this is not common sense or obvious, because in the past, in Japan, like traditionally, like teachers focused on like grammar and reading, and the teachers did not provide sufficient opportunities of communication. For example, when I was in high school, like I had two kinds of English classes, and the first class was reading class, and the second class was writing class. And I had reading classes like 5 times a week. And what I did in the reading classes was to translate each English sentence into Japanese with some teacher's grammar and vocabulary explanation every time. So I never spoke English, and the teacher never spoke English. Like she just explained like how to translate the English sentence into Japanese, and also like they provided some grammar instructions. And the second class was called writing class. And what the students did in the class was to solve grammar questions about grammar drills all the time. So we actually did not write essays. We just solved the grammar questions. And this is mainly because like for us, entrance exams are very important. So like many high school students hope to enter universities. So they want to have high scores in the entrance examinations. And it is changing, but traditionally, entrance exams in Japan like focused on reading questions and grammar knowledge. So many of the teachers and the students were not interested in practicing like speaking or listening or doing communication. So maybe in 20 or 30 years ago, I can say most of English classes were something like this: no communication, only try to provide knowledge about vocabulary and grammar, and also like some skills of reading. But as I showed earlier, the course of study says this is not an ideal class. So, again, the course of study says to develop students' competencies that form the communication through language activities. But as I explained, language activities should be like communication, like authentic communication. So, and these cannot be regarded as language activities. So like this kind of English class is not recommended by the course of study. So then, how about this pattern? Like first, teachers explain the grammar explicitly, and then students practice like through grammar questions or reading aloud activities. And finally, students do language activity. Do you think this format follows the recommendation of the course of study? So The answer is probably I have to say no. By the way, this approach is usually called like PPP. So some of you might be familiar with this style. And I believe like this style is much better than my high school English classes. And I want to claim that like this style can be effective in some cases. However, such classes does not develop student competencies through language activities. So like because students develop their English skills or knowledge through grammar explanation and practice. And the language activity is where like students try to use what they learned like from grammar explanation or practice. So this cannot be regarded as the teaching through language activities. And when I criticize like PPP, what I often say is that probably in usual communication, like for example, angels come to you and say, now like you will talk with this person, so you have to use this grammar and this vocabulary. Maybe this doesn't happen, right? But in PPP, like the students are supposed to use like grammar that they learned in the step 1 and step 2, like during language activity. So this cannot be regarded as like authentic communication, because in real communication, students have to choose grammar or vocabulary that they use by themselves. So again, PPP has some advantages, and I do not deny the effectiveness of PPP, but still, this may be a little different from the classes through language activities. So what classes are expected by the course of study? So that is to repeat language activities. So like language activity, language activity, language activity. Language activity should be the main part of the class. And this theoretical background is task repetition. Maybe some of you might have heard of like this term, task repetition. But this means repeating similar or same tasks. And one of the advantages of repeating tasks, our task repetition, is that students can use same and similar expressions repeatedly, which is a good practice. So in language activity 1, like you might not be able to use target grammar or vocabulary fluently, but you repeatedly use the target grammar or vocabulary that you learned, then like you might be able to use it fluently. So the knowledge could be automatized, and you might be able to use like new knowledge naturally or like without consciousness. And the second advantage is that students can focus on not only meaning, but also forms. So for example, please imagine that like today's language activity is to introduce ourselves. So students practice introducing themselves repeatedly. And in the first language activity, what students have to think about first or most is what they say, right? Like for example, I should say my name, or I should tell like my favorite sport, or I should tell my hometown. So in the first activity, students have to think about what they talk about. And this is the meaning. Students have to focus on meaning in the first language activity. So this means, like our working memory, the capacity of brain is limited. So like it is often difficult to think about meaning and forms like vocabulary and grammar at the same time. So consequently, in the first language activity, students focus on meaning and they cannot afford to thinking about grammar. And so this may not improve students' English abilities, especially like grammar abilities or vocabulary. However, when students do the same task again, or when students do self-introduction again, they can afford to think about vocabulary or grammar this time. Because in the first activity, they already thought about what they say in the self-introduction. So this time, they do not have to focus on meaning. And instead, they can think about vocabulary or grammar, like how I could say this sentence accurately. And so this awareness of grammar could improve students' English skills. So, another advantage of task repetition is that it enables students to focus on or be aware of not only meaning, but also forms like grammar and vocabulary. And the third advantage is that students can feel that their performance has improved. So in the first activity, students may not be able to speak English well, But if students repeat the same activity or similar activities again and again, probably like their performance improves. So consequently, students feel, oh, my English skill improved or my performance improved. And that could increase students' confidence and motivation. By the way, I said like task repetition is repeating similar or same tasks, but group members can change. So in the first activity, I talk with like Mr. A, and then in the second activity, I talk with like the classmate B, like this. So you could change group members or pairs. As for self-introduction, it is not common to introduce myself in the same way to the same person twice or three times. So it could be effective to change pairs or group members. And also the duration can change. For example, the first activity could be 3 minutes long, and the second one could be 4 minutes long, and the third one will be 5 minutes long. Because, like in the second activity, probably like students can speak longer or provide more information than the first activity. So it could be a good idea to make activity longer. Or it's also possible to make language activity shorter, because in the first activity, like it might take 3 minutes to provide all important information about yourself. But in the second or third time, like they could do it in more efficiently. So it could be good to make the language activities shorter gradually. So anyway, the course of study states that like the language activity should be the main part of the classes. So we should do language activity repeatedly. But of course, when necessary, it's important to provide or let students do practice activities or like teach grammar or vocabulary. So for example, in classes of speaking interaction, before the first language activity, the teacher could show a model. Or during the language activity, so for example, pair work, the teachers could provide recasts. And have you ever heard of recast? So this is one type of feedback. And for example, students say, I go to Japan last summer. And the student is talking about last summer, so go should be went. And of course, it is possible for the teacher to say, hey, stop, go is wrong. You should say went. It is possible. However, this is not good communication, right? Like the student would like to talk about his or her experience in Japan, but if the teacher says you should say went, go is not correct, then communication stops and the student might be sad. But as an English teacher, you would like to make the student notice that go is wrong and went is better. And in that case, the teacher could say, oh, you went to Japan last summer. That's cool. What did you do there? So the teacher repeats what student said with a revised version. So teacher repeats what student said, but teacher said you went. So if necessary, teachers could emphasize went. And then students might notice, or like his classmates also notice that, oh, went is correct, go is wrong. So, then the teachers could provide some grammar knowledge, even though they do not stop communication. So this is a way of feedback that you could do through communication. And this kind of feedback is recommended. So like during language activities, and the teachers listen to student utterances, and when necessary, teachers could provide recast. And then students might gain grammar knowledge or vocabulary knowledge. And also, like after the language activity, after the first language activity, or between first and second language activity, like the teachers could point out common errors and teach correct expressions, or let the student look up expressions they could not use. Maybe, students could ask questions to ChatGPT now, or, teachers could ask students who did good performance to show it. So like this. So again, the main part of the class could be language activities. But before or during and after each language activity, it is possible to provide some teaching. But again, the main part is language activity. And this kind of teaching ways is recommended by the course of study in Japan. And so, this is a key point of the course of study, to develop student competencies that form the communication through language activities. Of course, like you can teach grammar, or you can do exercise like grammar drills or reading aloud when necessary, but the main part should be language activities. And this is the first part. And the second key point of the CS is this. One of the most important goals in Japanese schools is to develop students' knowledge and skills, abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself, and motivation to learn and humanity. And these are three keywords of the course of study. So in Japanese schools, every subject tries to develop students' knowledge and skills, ability to think, make decisions, and express oneself, and motivation to learn and humanity in their own ways. So, it says regardless of the subject. So, not only English teachers, but also like Japanese teachers, or mathematics teachers, or music teachers, or PE teachers have to try to develop students' skills of these three. But of course, the way of developing knowledge and skills could be different in subjects. So like English teachers try to develop students' knowledge and skills in their ways of English. And mathematics teachers try to develop students' knowledge and skills in mathematical ways. And also the definitions of knowledge and skills are different in subject. So of course, the knowledge and skills of English is different from knowledge of skills in PE classes. So it is very important for English teachers to understand what knowledge and skills, ability to think, make decisions, express oneself, and motivation to learn and humanity in English classes or in English is. So now I would like to talk about what are they in English classes. So first, let me talk about knowledge and skills. And this could be the easiest one. This is knowledge about English, like grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation and spellings. So, like in order to acquire English, like you have to have like these knowledge. And also skills to listen to and speak and read and write English accurately and fluently. And these are knowledge and skills in English. So like the teachers are expected to develop students' knowledge about English and skills and student skills to listen to, speak, read, and write. But what the course of study emphasizes is that this is not enough. Of course, this is important, but this is not sufficient. The teachers are expected to develop students' abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself. And in English, this means contextually appropriate communication. Like, are the students sufficiently conscious of communication purpose, scene, and situation of the language activity? Like, this is how like the teachers evaluate the performance of students. But like this is too abstract, so I would like to show you an example. Please imagine that like today's language activity is like this. You are taking an interview of a high school entrance exam in English. The interviewer asked you to introduce yourself. So like today's goal is to learn to introduce yourself in interview during the entrance examination. So students like practice practice introducing themselves in interview repeatedly in the class. And in this language activity, what knowledge and skill are needed? So probably the perfect present tense could be useful. For example, like I have studied English very hard, or I have practiced baseball or soccer very hard. So this could be useful expression. So teachers might teach the perfect present tense, or like if students already learned that, maybe teachers could review what perfect present tense is like. And also work on our strengths could be good expressions. So, for junior high school students. So the teachers might teach like these vocabulary that could be useful during the task. And students try to like acquire these grammar items or vocabulary. And this is knowledge and skills, like vocabulary and grammar. But, in order to pass the interview of the entrance examination, this is not enough, right? So what are needed besides English knowledge, like grammar and vocabulary? Sorry, before that, like for example, first like teachers set up purpose and scene and situation before the language activity. So like today's task is to practice interviews during entrance examination. Like you will introduce yourself during entrance exams interview. And so like and in that case, before the first language activity, the teacher shows a model, like doing a self-introduction using target expressions, and let the student write down English expressions that they want to use. And then like the students can learn like these, might be able to notice or learn these grammar items or vocabulary, and they might be able to use it during language activity. And during language activity like pair work, the teacher may listen to student utterances and recast if students cannot use the target expressions accurately and smoothly. And then like students could develop like grammar and vocabulary knowledge. And after the first language activity, the teacher explains some target expressions explicitly and encourages students to use them in the second round. So teachers could teach some grammar and vocabulary and like this. So again, the main part should be language activity. So students can focus on practicing the interview, like self-introduction during entrance exam interviews. But like before, or during, or after that activity, students could, the teachers could teach some grammar or try to develop students' grammar or vocabulary knowledge. And like this, like students, the teachers could develop students' knowledge and skills. But, you know, as I said earlier, like English ability is not enough to do good performance during the interviews of the entrance exam. So, for example, like it is important for for teachers to let students think about what information they should include in the self-introduction and how to explain them. So maybe this is, you know, the interview of the entrance examination. So students are not supposed to talk about the favorite animals, right? Like when you are introducing yourself to your friends, it might be a good idea to talk about your favorite animals. But considering the context, maybe students are supposed to like talk about, for example, their efforts to improve their English skills rather than their favorite animals. So they have to think about what they should talk about, considering the context. And also, students might say, I have studied English hard, but this is not very convincing. Maybe students should talk about their efforts in more detail, like saying, I have studied English for at least 2 hours every day. You know, for at least 2 hours every day could be more convincing than saying studying English hard. So like this, even if like your English is perfect, still like you might not be able to get a good score in the interview. So it is important to for teachers to let the student what they are supposed to talk about during the interview. And this instruction is regarded as our target's abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself. So, you know, in order to develop these abilities, maybe before the first language activity, the teacher shows both a good example, which is contextually appropriate one, and a bad example, which is a contextually inappropriate one, and let students think of the differences. So for example, in the good example, teachers talk about like what they have worked on, or they worked hard, like in junior high school. And in bad example, maybe like they talk about like their favorite anime or their favorite animals, and then, you know, students listen to it and consider which is better and why. And then the students can realize that it is very important to talk about something appropriate for the context of interviews for the entrance exam. Yeah, and like during the language activity, so when the students are practicing the interview, the teacher listens to student utterances and asks questions if students do not provide sufficient information. Like for example, like if students say like, I study English very hard, and then students could, the teacher could ask, how many hours do you study English a week? And then students might notice that probably it's important to provide more information. Like for example, study English 2 hours every day. So this feedback could be helpful to develop students' abilities of think, make decisions, and express oneself. And after the language activity, the teacher asks students to share what the information they included on Google Chat and tell them to choose some information that they wish to include in the second round. So like I asked students what information they talked about during the interview and asked them to share, what they talked about. And then students can get a lot of ideas. Like one student say, like I talked about my effort for English learning, or another student might say, like, I have my volunteering experience. So, if each of them share their ideas on Google Chat, like the students can gain a lot of ideas and students can think about what they are supposed to say during the interview. So in the second round, students might be able to do a better performance. So as I have discussed, like knowledge and skills and abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself are very important. And some teachers focus on only knowledge and skills. And of course, that is important. However, the course of study emphasizes that not only knowledge and skills, but also abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself are also important. So now I would like you to think a little and share your ideas. And please imagine that today's language activity is like this. Some students will come to our school from Sweden next week, and they want to know about school rules. So you will write an email to introduce some important school rules to one of the Swedish students, Fabian. And this is your first email to him. Then as a teacher, what would you teach your students or encourage them to think about as knowledge and skills and ability to think, make decisions, and express oneself? So for example, what grammar items are needed or what vocabulary is needed to do this task or language activities? And also what kind of abilities to think, make decisions, and express oneself are needed? So probably like we have about maybe 80 or 90 students. And so if your birthday is in February, I'd like you to share your ideas. Maybe the second one, ability to make decisions and express oneself, could be a little difficult. So if it's difficult, like you can do just the first one. So if you are born in February, please share like what, for example, English knowledge is needed for doing this task, or what are needed besides English knowledge and skills. So like if you are born in February, like please share your ideas using the chat of the Zoom. So like, you will write an email to a new student from Sweden, and he would like to know about the school rules. And in order to write such a email, like what knowledge or skills is needed. And also like what abilities are needed besides English knowledge and skills.
I think, where is everybody? Anybody was born in February? I was born in September, so this assignment is not for me. Guys, you can.
Also, so yeah, you are muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. So to the students, if you know the answers of Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto's question, please type it in the chat box. So what do you think is needed to teach your students? This is a tough one, you know. We
Okay.
come to the webinar with empty brain, just waiting for you to teach us. But anybody can just respond. Okay. Other than Zoom, we also have students in like streaming from YouTube, Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto. So I'm not sure how they're gonna respond.
Okay, maybe this could be a little difficult, like to ask you to share maybe. Yeah, so like if you are still writing, like, please share it anytime. So let me share my ideas. So probably as for knowledge and skills, maybe should or must or need to or recommend someone to could be like expressions that could be useful for writing that email. And also expression to write email like best regards or dear could be necessary to write email. So these could be knowledge or skills that you teach like when like you do that task or language activity. But probably that is not enough. Like for example, students may have to think about how to make a kind message to lower Fabian's anxiety. So for example, like you could say like you must wear a uniform or you must come to school like by 8:10 or something. But if you say you must, like the Fabian, like the new student might get nervous. So that might not be a good email or a kind email. But on the other hand, if students write, like, we understand our school rules are very different from your school rules, so you can make mistakes, we will not get angry. And then the Fabian's anxiety will get lower. So like thinking about how to write kind messages could be a good idea. So this is the second key point of the course of study. And one of the most, and by the way, like I talked about the first two abilities. And finally, briefly, I would like to talk about the third one, motivation to learn and humanity. In English, motivation to learn and humanity is like willingness to communicate. So try to communicate in English actively. And also tenaciousness, like for example, like they practice patiently. And self-regulation, like planning and reflection. Oh, really? Okay. Also, only 10 minutes left. Okay. So maybe I cannot talk about the second part, but okay. Anyway, so, that is also important. So for example, like, it's a good idea to give advice on how to write a good reflection essay or help students find what they did were not well in the language activity and what they should do to do an even better performance next time. So after the final activity, that could be useful to have a kind of reflection task so that like they can develop their self-regulation. So, and as I explained, these are three important skills that students should develop. So these should be used for evaluation too. For example, if you do a speaking task for evaluation, maybe the knowledge and skills could be, does the student speak accurate and fluent English? So the teacher checks if the student speaks accurate and fluent English. And also the teacher should check if the student's utterance is appropriate for the context, or does the student achieve the communication goal? And motivation to learn in humanity is like, for example, like the teacher could check if the student try to communicate in English actively, or also after the test, the teacher could request the student write a reflection essay and evaluate the quality of the reflection. Like, for example, good points of like their performance or like during the test, or areas for improvement, what she or he should do to improve his or her speaking skills more. So these are the two key points of the course of study. And so I heard like I'm running out of time. So I will just briefly talk about the second one, innovative approach, intercultural understanding discussion. And when you hear, maybe as an English teacher, it is important to teach not only English, but also culture. And when the English teacher think about how to teach culture, probably like they might think maybe teaching foreign culture like music, art, or history, or dance could be effective. Or share fun episodes during traveling in foreign countries could be also like effective. And also it might be important to help students study their own culture, because when they go to a foreign country, they are often asked to introduce their own culture. So maybe helping students study their own culture could be important. And these are what like English teachers often do during English classes to develop students' cultural knowledge and awareness. However, I believe English teachers should do a little more than that. So what are things that teachers could do besides these? So my question is, what knowledge, skills, and attitude are needed for successful intercultural communication besides knowledge about foreign and their own culture? And I have 3 ideas. And the first one is the attitude to try to find good aspects of foreign culture. And for example, when you see an unfamiliar custom over foreign culture, you may feel it as bad. For example, in the United States, like in American schools, in most American schools, not students but janitors clean schools. And this is an unfamiliar custom for Japanese people because in Japan, in most schools, students clean schools by themselves. So when they hear that in America, like not students but janitors clean rooms, maybe some Japanese people might feel, oh, this is bad culture because making students clean schools is very important education. Students can learn a lot from cleaning. So this American custom is bad. Maybe some Japanese people might feel so. But if students feel like this, like the students cannot understand foreign culture. And in order to understand this culture, it's very important to find good aspects. Many Japanese people believe letting students clean schools is essential. But if they think about good aspects of janitors cleaning schools, they might be able to find good aspects of this culture, and they can understand the culture. For example, if the janitors clean schools, schools can be cleaner because the janitors are professional. And also students can use more time for study and sport rather than cleaning. And teachers do not have to supervise students, so teachers' workload decreases. And finally, local people can get jobs. And this could stimulate local economy. So like this, if you think about carefully, maybe you can find good aspects of janitors cleaning schools rather than students. And if the Japanese person realizes that, maybe the man now feels, I personally think students should clean schools by themselves, but American custom is not at all. And another important thing is the attitude to try to think about the background of culture. For example, like many Americans keep wearing shoes at home. But for Japanese people, this is unfamiliar again, because in Japan, we usually do not wear shoes at home. So when the Japanese person hears that many Americans keep wearing shoes at home, the Japanese person might feel this is bad culture. It makes your house dirty. However, if they learned this background, they might change their perspectives. Japanese houses have used tatami mats like this green one. And cleaning dirt from tatami mat is difficult. So maybe we are not supposed to wear shoes at home. However, American houses have used wood flooring, so it is easy to clean dirt. So even if your room becomes a little dirty because of the shoes, still, it's not very difficult to clean rooms. So it's okay to wear shoes at home. If the Japanese woman understands this cultural background, probably she can understand this culture, and she might have more positive perspective towards this culture. By the way, these 2 points can be explained by the term cultural relativism. And today I do not have time to explain what cultural relativism is, but this is probably one of the most important terms in the area of intercultural understanding. So if you are interested, please do some research on cultural relativism. And the third one is, so before I tell my third idea, I have a question. What are problems of the utterances below? Like the US is an urban country. African people run fast. Japanese people eat rice. What are problems? So the problem is that the speaker does not consider diversity in the region and the country. For example, of course, the United States has some very urban states, but the United States also has very rural states. For example, like I joined the Fulbright FLTA program, and I worked in Wyoming for a year. And Wyoming is a very rural state, very different from New York or California or like Los Angeles. So like the United States has both rural and urban areas. So the US is an urban country, may not be the best way to describe the United States. And African people run first. Of course, there are many African people who can run fast, but not everyone, right? Some African people cannot run fast. And Japanese people eat rice. Of course, it's common that like Japanese people often, Japanese people often eat rice, but some people may not eat rice. So the third important point is attitude to avoid overgeneralization. So the speaker, as I said, in these cases, the speaker does not consider diversity in the region or country. So these utterances may give listeners stereotypes. So we need to change this. If students say something like this, we have to like help them improve their utterances. So for example, the US is an urban country, may not be like culturally sensitive enough. So they could say the US has some very urban states. Or African people run fast may not be very good. So students could say, I know many great sprinters from Africa. And probably Japanese people generally eat rice more often than Americans, though they eat Western style meals very frequently too, could be more culturally sensitive than like saying Japanese people eat rice. So like this could be important to tell students that the importance of avoiding overgeneralization is very important in cultural education. So unfortunately, like I do not have time, but I am developing activities or teaching methods to develop to help students achieve these goals related to culture. And I think I sent today's slides to Professor Sativa, and I wrote the like basics about what my activity is like. So if you are interested, maybe you could read the slides and try to find out how like I could achieve like these goals, so that students can develop not only English skills, but also like cultural knowledge or cultural awareness. Okay. So I'm sorry that like I was not able to finish up like my presentation, but this is the end of my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yamamoto, for the insightful presentation. And for your information, I'm not yet a professor, so you please just address me as Miss Sativa, okay? I'm not that comfortable to be called as professor yet. Hopefully one day.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for the insightful presentations. Now we will open the floor for questions. So to our dear students and colleagues, if you would like to ask a questions, please type it in the chat box and then we will address it one by one. And right now I've got several questions. So would you like to answer it now, Dr. Yamamoto?
Yeah, like I already.
Okay, I got the first one from our audience in YouTube. It's from Fazia Sekar Alifa. May I read it for you?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, so Fazia Sekar Alifa, this is your questions. I'm gonna ask it to Dr. Yamamoto. So the question is, are there any challenges that are very often encountered by teaching English in Japan? And the challenges that are often encountered when you are teaching English in Japan.
Challenges, difficulties. Yeah, probably like as I pointed out, like entrance examinations are essential, like for like many Japanese high school students and junior high school students, but it is very difficult to evaluate student speaking skills or often writing skills in entrance examinations. So we really like hope to do speaking activities, and we really hope to improve students' speaking skills. However, like some students and parents do not want to practice speaking because their goal for learning English is to get high scores on the entrance examinations. So even though like the teachers or the government would like to make the classes communicative, some parents are students are not willing to practice it. Rather, like they would like to focus on like, for example, like reading or grammar practice, so that like they can get good scores in the entrance exam. And so this is one biggest challenge. And another challenge is that maybe Indonesian too, but like Japanese and English are totally different language. So for example, the sentence structure is different. In Japanese, the subject comes first, and after that, the object comes, and then verb. But in English, subject, verb, object. So like the structure are different, and also like pronunciation are totally different. Vocabulary, our spelling systems are very different. So English is a very difficult language for Japanese people, and it takes a lot of time for Japanese people to acquire English. And I can say this could be a kind of disadvantage of like English learners in Japan. So these could be challenges that Japanese English learners and teachers face.
Thank you for the explanation. So I hope that answered the question from Fazia. Agree. I think that's also the case that we have in Indonesia right now. English is like one of the compulsory subject. So mostly the students learn English because they need to pass several tests, let's say the national test after high school, and then the other entrance test. So many test-based, English preparation. So not really into speaking yet. So probably we're gonna explore that field in the future. Hopefully, if we can collaborate. Second questions, if you can see it in the chat box from, let's see here. I think there's question from Gita Andin. The question is, does Japan prioritize hiring native English speakers for teaching positions or not really?
Yeah, and what I would like to tell you is that like we what can I say, like teaching with a native speaker is very common, and they are called like assistant language teacher. So like, for example, like in junior high schools, like as I explained earlier, like students take 4 classes a week. And usually one of the classes will be team taught by a Japanese English teacher and the native speaker, like called ALT, assistant language teacher. But in Japan, like without license, like the teachers cannot teach classes by themselves. And it is very difficult for foreign people like to get a teacher's certificate in Japan. So it is not common for English teachers to teach classes by themselves in elementary or junior high or high schools. So like they teach classes with the main Japanese teacher. So the students often see native speaking teachers in English classes. However, like they cannot be main teachers. And all the time, the main teacher is a Japanese teacher.
I see. So the job or the career is open for native English speakers only, or is it possible for us Indonesians
Actually,
to teach English as well?
Like I honestly, I have never heard of assistant language teacher from Indonesia. However, like there are many non-native assistant language teachers. Like I know like someone is from like Brazil or the Philippines or South Africa. So they are fluent in English, but they are not native speakers of English. But still, like you could come to Japan as an assistant language teacher, and we of course understand that like not only English speaking cultures, but also cultures from other countries are equally important. So yeah, like I don't know like if the government hires assistant language teacher in Indonesia, but I know like some AOTs are not native speakers, and many of non-native speaking AOTs work very well.
That's really big, good news for us. So students, maybe teaching English in Japan is another promising career in the future. So get ready with your CV.
And also like like even though like Japanese English skills are generally not very high, like many of us are interested in developing our English communication skills. So like we have many private like English conversation schools. And in such schools, like there are many like foreign teachers.
Interesting. Thank you for the insights and notes. Okay, we also have another questions. Do you still want to respond to that?
Sure.
From Olivia, the question is, how has the use of the use of technology like AI or language learning apps or online platforms change ELT in Japan? Like, does
Yeah, like
technology is really a thing in Japan right now?
yeah, I think it's changing. Like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, like it was decided that like the government gives a tablet or like PC to each student. So now in most of elementary or junior high or senior high schools, each student has his or her own computer or tablet PC. And some teachers use the tablet very well. So, and now in Japanese education, like we try to make, our classes like more collaborative and also personalized. And ICT could help it. So if teachers can use ICT effectively, the classes could change. But unfortunately, I can say the majority of teachers cannot use ICT technology very well. So I'm not sure if our English education has changed dramatically. And yeah, some teachers or students strongly believe that like traditional style of like translating Japanese sentences, English sentences into Japanese could be fine. So yeah, hopefully like the ICT will change it a lot. And but of course, like researchers in English education or ICT technology like try to develop education using ICT. So yeah, I can say it's changing gradually, but so far not dramatically.
Thank you. I hope that's answered a question from Olivia. And then we also got another question from Nasha Desliana Putri. You still want to respond to this? Sensei, do you still want to respond to this?
Yeah, so sure. Let me read first.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my explanation was clear and engaging. Thank you so much for saying that. Like, like I cannot see your faces, so I was not sure if like you understood my poor English, but if you understood something, I'm very happy about it. Mm. Yeah, like this is extremely difficult question, and as I said, yeah, like the theory says that maybe a lot of input and a lot of understandable or comprehensible input is extremely important, and of course that is very important in Japan too. But as I said, like Japanese and English structures, like sentence structures, are extremely different. So maybe some grammar explanation could be needed, or maybe the Japanese students may not learn English or develop their speaking or listening skills in a way like European speakers, like with similar native language of English, like learn. So yeah, this is like very challenging. But yeah, like the course of study says, like as I pointed out earlier, like doing language activities or tasks are needed. So maybe it's very important to provide students with opportunities of using English, like in communication, rather than just gaining knowledge. So yeah, maybe giving a lot of communication opportunity is important. And also maybe ICT could be helpful. Like for example, like now, like, we can talk with like ChatGPT or other like English learning apps, and then like you can have an opportunity to talk with the opportunity to like speak English. And also, like if you use ChatGPT, you could receive some feedback about your utterances of speaking. So yeah, using ICT could be one possible way to develop our like listening, our speaking skills. Like considering that maybe Indonesia too, but Japan does not have many English speaking people in some parts. Yeah, in some parts like there are many English speaking people, but in most of the parts like we do not have many foreign people. So yeah, maybe using ICT and receiving a lot of opportunity of using English in communication and receiving some feedback, yeah, could be a key.
Thank you for the comprehensive answers and a clear explanation, Dr. Hiroki Yamamoto. I think we don't have any more questions. Oh yeah,
Mr. Hiroki.
oh yeah, we have question from Zuro. You want to ask?
Yes, I would like to ask you some question. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Zuhro, and I'm an international student pursuing my last semester in Unsika. So my question is, it was really a nice explanation from you. I really understand some useful information. My question is, what strategies are teachers using to encourage more active participation in English classes, like strategies like project-based learning or group works or task-based learning? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So of course, like every teacher has different strategies. So I cannot generalize like what Japanese teachers do. But personally, like my favorite theory, considering like students' motivation and engagement, is like self-determination theory. Like, have you ever heard of self-determination theory?
Self-determination. I guess yes.
Yeah, like so maybe if you are interested, please do some more research. But self-determination theory consists of like 5 or 6 mini theories, and one of them is called sorry, I don't know how to call it in English, but probably basic needs theory, probably like 3 basic needs theory. And the 3 needs are needs for like needs for relatedness, and also needs for competence. And also the third one is like need for maybe autonomy. Yeah. So the point is that like when the students' 3 needs are satisfied, they are likely to improve their intrinsic motivation, or they can be more engaging. And so needs for relatedness is, briefly speaking, like they can have good relationship with teachers or friends. And needs for competence is, kind of when students gain the confidence, like when students feel I did it very well, then like the needs for competence could be enhanced. And also like needs for autonomy. So sorry if the term is different, I'm afraid, but the third one, needs for autonomy, is to respect autonomy. So like to let the students make decisions by themselves. So like, if you try to give classes satisfying those 3 needs, like theoretically, students' motivation or engagement could increase. So if you are interested, please do some research on like self-determination theory or like basic psychological needs theory.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Actually, I'm doing research right now about like strategy about project-based learning. So that's why that's the reason that I asked this question.
Oh, thank you very much. So, it could be interesting how to satisfy the students' needs of the 3, like through the project-based learning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I think that will be our last questions for today's session. Mr. Hiroki Yamamoto, I believe many of our students still want to continue the discussion, but unfortunately we have to almost close the event. So let me say a few words. As we come to the close of today's session, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to you, Dr. Hiroki Yamamoto, for sharing your expertise with us. And we also want to thank our Vice Dean, Mr. Fauzi, our program coordinator, Ms. Effie, the on-duty staff, and each of you for joining us this afternoon. Next, we would like to present a virtual certificate to you, Dr. Yamamoto, as our token of appreciation. Miss Effie, our coordinator, will present it virtually to you. I hope you are happy with the event and also this small token of appreciation. So, Miss Effie, would you like to present it virtually?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Ms. Refi. So, Yamamoto-sensei, thank you so much for your thorough explanation. I sincerely hope that our students, will take a lot of benefits from your explanation. And this is a little token of appreciation for you for presenting in today's agenda. Once again, arigatou gozaimasu. Terima kasih banyak. And I think, can we take a photo?
Right.
Refi?
Sure. So we need the help of our on-duty staff
Yeah.
to document the screen. So everyone, would you mind turn on your camera, put your best smiles. Right now we have several pages of screen, so maybe it's gonna take some times. Hiroki Sensei, put on your best smiles. All right. Staff, are you guys ready? Okay, not yet. Everybody. Thank you, Sandy, for turn on your camera. Thank you, Mr. Qadir. Mr. Yogi, you are not on frame. Okay, everyone, if you, oh yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, awesome. We've got a lot of people on camera right now. Please put your best smile. Cheers. Screen number 1. Cheers. Screen number 2. Cheers. Screen number 3. How many screen do we have? 4. Oh, 4 screen. Okay, the last one. Smile, everyone. All right. Thank you. Okay. I think to wrap up, let me summarize today's event. So international events like this is not only broaden our horizons, but also foster cross-cultural dialogue and innovation in our field. We hope everyone found today's lecture both inspiring and informative. Thank you again for your participation. For our dear students, please remember to fill in the attendance and then you will receive e-certificate for attending this lecture. And also, again, we really appreciate your presence today, Dr. Hiroki Yamamoto. We hope to see you in person in Karawang, Indonesia. Are you coming? Please
I'll
do.
try.
Okay. So we look forward to welcoming you again in our future events. And everybody, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Goodbye. Sayonara. Ohayo
Terima
gozaimasu.
kasih.
Terima kasih. Thank you.
Arigato.
Dr. Yamamoto, please check your chat box. Thank you.
Like I wanted to share like my slides with students, but like probably maybe I should cut some photos before I send it to
Sure.
the students.
You
So
can
like
send it to my email.
to
I'll
you, yeah,
forward.
and then like
Yeah, yeah.
could you send my slides to today's participant later?
Exactly.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Thank you.
And also, please check your chat books again, Mr. Yamamoto. You can respond to me later about social media permission. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Of course, yes.
Thank
and
you.
So you tell me the Instagram, like do you so like can you like tag me like without,
Yeah.
for example, finding my account on Instagram?
Yes, we
Okay,
found your
yeah,
account.
sure. So
We're gonna
please
tag
do it.
you for
Yes.
our publications.
Oh yeah, no problem,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.
It was a great opportunity.
Thank
So like I hope I can see you everyone again.
See you, Hiroki. Bye. Thank you.
We're
Thank you.
gonna end the Zoom in 5 seconds. 5.
Bye.